Continuing with Saigyo's 18th part, miscellaneous poems. Poems from a mountain home. We come to how timely the delight of the snowfall, obliterating the mountain trail just when I wanted to be alone. I don't know if we read that one. What happened? Alright. Observing divers coming and going in Yoshimato Canal, gathering turban shells and loading them in boats. In a channel where turban shells live, the sight of divers busily hunting them in the hollows of the rocks. The float rigged strands of the nets that catch a little bream seem to be moving southward. Sad work in Shiozaki Bay. Shiozaki Bay is on the southwest coast of Awazi Island in the Inland Sea. Here and elsewhere, Saigyo deplores occupations such as hunting and fishing that involve the taking of life, since they create bad karma for the persons engaged in them. He doesn't like hunting and fishing. The float-rigged strands of the nets that catch little bream seem to be moving southward. Sad work in Sasaki Bay. Fishermen, home from their day's work, on a bed of seaweed, little top shells, clams, hermit crabs, periwinkles. When I crossed over to Arago, I found clam-like shells called mussels that often bear pearls. I wrote this on observing the towering piles of shells from which such pearls had been extracted. Pearls plucked. Mussel shells lie heaped in mounds, showing us the aftermath of treasure. Arago is a peninsula south of Nagoya and Aichi. Saigyo had crossed over from the nearby Suma Peninsula in Mie Prefecture. Here he says, pearls plucked, the mussel shells lie heaped in mounds, showing us the aftermath of treasure. Seems he sees the waste created. A strong wind came up from the offing, and the boats that fish for bonito returned to port. In his poem he says, side by side the bonito boats approach the Cape of Arago, bobbing on the waves of the northwest wind. Poems on small birds. If they didn't sing, we'd just take them for deeper hued leaves. The flocks of green finches feeding on willow buds. Here he says, if they didn't sing, we'd just take them for deeper hued leaves. The flocks of green finches feeding on willow buds. Seems the birds distinguish themselves by singing. Poems on small birds. Lined up, never leaving their companions. The willow tits count on the lower limbs of the pasania for their roost. Lined up, never leaving their companions, the willow tits count on the lower limbs of the pasania for their roost. Written on a moonlit night when visiting Kamo. The Shishimogamo Shrine in Kyoto. The Miyamo River is probably the small Tadazu River that runs through the grounds of the shrine, though it perhaps indicates the much larger Kamo River nearby. He writes in the poem, in the bed of the Miyara River, flooded in clear moonlight, the frost is cold. I hear plovers crying as they fly far off. In the bed of the Mioya River, flooded in clear moonlight, the frost is cold. I hear plovers crying as they fly far off. Traveling in the province of Sasunuki, I arrived at a port called Menatsu. The moon was bright, and the fishermen's frames could be seen as far out in the water as they could be erected. Seabirds were flying all around the poles that hold the frames in place. Rough frames of bamboo erected for catching fish or raising oysters or edible seaweed. So they were growing seaweed or harvesting seaweed or edible seaweed. We just had seaweed. So they were harvesting seaweed. It says here, his poem says, sheath of spreading moonlight one would almost take for ice. Flocks of teal circling the poles of the fishermen's frames. Sheath of spreading moonlight one would almost take for ice. Flocks of teal circling the poles of the fishermen's frames. That's from the SKS, which is the Poems of a Mountain Home from Saigyo. And SKS would be what? The Sankashu. Next poem. I have cast off the world, but there are thoughts I cannot cast away. Who have yet to part from the capital. I have cast off the world, but there are thoughts I cannot cast away. I who have yet to part from the capital. So he's gone into the woods to a mountain hut alone, but he still has memories of his life in the capital. Seems to be. Who would remember? Who would come, looking for me, pushing his way along this mountain path so drenched in dew? Who would remember? Who would come, looking for me, pushing his way along this mountain path so drenched in dew? Now this one's from 100 Poems. 10 poems expressing feelings. Strange. And that's probably what he titled it. Time to say goodbye to such glories. Thoughts of them end now, to long familiar blossoms on the peaks of the immortals. The peaks of the immortals is believed to be a reference to the retired emperor's prowess in the poem to express Saigyo's determination to leave the service of the retired emperor Toba and enter religious life. He says, time to say goodbye to such glories. Thoughts of them end now, to long familiar blossoms on the peak of the immortals. From 100 Poems, 10 poems on impermanence now. Yes, 10 poems on impermanence. Drops of dew strung on filaments of spiderweb. Such are the trappings that deck out this world. Drops of dew strung on filaments of spiderweb. Such are the trappings that deck out this world. From 100 Poems, 10 poems on impermanence. Since I no longer think of reality as reality, what reason would I have to think of dreams as dreams? Interesting. Since I no longer think of reality as reality, what reason would I have to think of dreams as dreams? Basically, dreams are discounted and reality is discounted. Physical sense world is discounted, and also the dreams would be in the mindfulness, advanced mindfulness meditator. We have read from Saigyo, the 12th century Japanese poet. There he is. Part 18.